Cabin Sports Radio.
Here comes the siren. I want to go higher. Oh, my goodness. Batista with a drive. Deep left field. No doubt about it. Posey will defend. Oh! LeBron James with no regard for human life.
Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. Unreal.
Oh, baby, for sure.
Cabin Sports Radio starts now.
Lekter and Unbreakable Mike Gibbons in the studio with you on another edition of Cabin Sports Radio, trying to let the salt and sodium slowly dissolve out of our bloodstreams from this past Super Bowl. Salty snacks aplenty. How was your weekend, Mike?
It was good. I'm returning to form after that snooze fest.
You got a good nap in, eh?
Oh, yeah.
We will talk about the Super Bowl and much more as Cabin Sports Radio starts now.
You're listening to Cabin Sports Radio, brought to you by Sport North, moving sport forward.
Cabin Sports Radio brought to you by Sport North, moving sport forward. Check out sportnorth.com. Speaking of them, we will be talking to Billy O of Sport North in the studio a little later on in the show, as well as Damon Crossman as they gear up to head to Red Deer, Alberta, for the Canada Winter Games as part of the Team NT mission staff. The chef and the assistant chef mission joining us a little bit later on. But first, of course, we got to kick off the show by talking about Super Bowl 53 that went down last night. The New England Patriots, once again, this could be a show broadcasted from 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
The New England Patriots are your Super Bowl champions.
The, the 12th major championship for the city of Boston since 2001, I think.
They're so spoiled.
Yeah, 6. Imagine being someone born in that generation, like the mid to late 90s, even in the 2000s. You know nothing but victory.
Pretty much.
6 now for the Patriots, 4 for the Red Sox, 1 for the Bruins, 1 for the Celtics. They all win.
Yeah, except us.
Yeah.
Us viewers did not win last night.
No.
Patriots fans, viewers definitely won, and they are kidding themselves today by saying, what a great game that was last night. What an incredible Super Bowl victory by our beloved New England Patriots. That was the lowest scoring Super Bowl. I'm sure you've heard it all by now. The lowest scoring Super Bowl in NFL history, and without question, the most boring Super Bowl I have ever seen.
If you miss the first 53 minutes of that football game, of that 60-minute football game, you miss 2 field goals.
Yeah.
It was a 3-3 game until Tom Brady and the Patriots marched down the field. It was a nice run they put together, but that was all she wrote in terms of legitimate scoring. Only 3 field goals, 1 for extra points, outside of that 1 rushing score from the 2-yard line. It was a good sequence of plays to put it all together, but that was it. And the third down conversions, whether you're a Patriots fan or a Rams fan, putrid.
Yes.
3 for 12, I think it was, for the Rams.
Yeah.
3 for 13 and 3 for 12 for the Patriots, marginally better. And just when it seemed in the third quarter, Jared Goff finally got into what seemed like a little bit of a rhythm.
Yeah.
The sequence would end in a punt. Punt, 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 punt. You can look at the game tracker, and that's all it was.
Yeah, not a memorable first Super Bowl performance for Jared Goff.
No.
And unfortunately, I mean, I don't really even think there's anything positive to take away from that. Yeah, you gain a little bit of experience, but I mean, you've got, 8, 9 or so months between your next snap that means anything and that last one. So much can change in between. Players come and go in the offseason with free agency. There's not even really anything to take positive out of that, which has got to be arguably the most frustrating thing, aside from the fact that you obviously just lost the most important game of the season.
Didn't get much help. So ends up throwing 19 for 38, 229 yards, no scores, and 1 interception. A very similar line to Tom Brady, who, if you were to read his line, that you would think, having not seen the game, that is not worthy of a Super Bowl victory. Only throwing for a couple more yards himself. I think it was around 30 more yards, 21 for 35, 1 interception himself on the first possession of the game. So the Rams came out pretty strong on the defensive side of the ball, and they were actually good throughout, holding the Patriots to only one touchdown. But Goff got no help, again, from Todd Gurley, who just... There's going to be a report probably to come out in the coming weeks that he was dealing with some injury that was aggravated or something. Runs for a total of 35 yards on 10 carries for an average of 3.5 per run. And that's after running just 10 yards in the championship game against the Saints. He was restricted somewhat. He didn't get that many carries and didn't even play in that many plays. To be fair, was very good in the divisional round against the Cowboys, but this is a Pro Bowler who almost led the league, third in the league in rushing all season long. Yeah. And just falls off the face of the planet when the games start to matter.
Yeah, and like you say, when a star player turns in a disappointing performance in a big game, you can almost set your watch to the fact that some news report is going to come out later and say, he was dealing with, 7 different injuries, and he just gutted it out for that, the chance to win the Super Bowl. But he didn't look bad. Todd Gurley looked fine.
Yeah.
The New England Patriots just gave him nothing, and the Rams' offensive line could not open any holes for him. It was just, it was typical Bill Belichick. The New England Patriots defense looked unsurprised by anything and everything that the LA Rams threw at them. They looked like they had seen it all before and figured out how to defend it and how to snuff it out, a million times over.
Yeah.
It was a classic Bill Belichick chess match coaching. But like you say, Jared Goff, regardless, facing that defense, his numbers were not a whole lot different than Tom Brady. He didn't win the game, but I guess if you're going to take a positive out of it, it's like, well, I played about as good as arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. So positives? Yeah. I don't know.
And his interception didn't come at as time... his interception did come at a much worse time later in the fourth, and that might have been the difference.
Yeah.
That effectively sealed it. They had a chance to make a final push down, and then I think that was late in the fourth, and New England came back, kicked a field goal. Funny enough, of their 6 titles now, which brings them into a tie with the Pittsburgh Steelers for first overall, that was the first one decided by more than one score. So not only was it a boring game, it was also, compared to all the other 5 championships that the Patriots have won, rather anticlimactic.
16 points and not close.
Yeah. So no,
that makes for a great Super Bowl.
A tough run overall, and you hate to bring it up, but we have to. You probably saw the footage last night of all the standouts in New Orleans, all the people on the streets, bars reportedly not playing any of the game in protest of the decision a couple weeks ago.
I didn't hear that, actually.
So they took to the streets. But it sort of begs the question, would someone like Drew Brees fare better in a game like last night versus Jericho, who was seeing it all for the first time, 24 years old, obviously first Super Bowl, I think the 3rd youngest quarterback to ever play in a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And you're going against a guy that has more Super Bowls than 30 NFL franchises. That's a pretty tall order. Maybe Drew Brees could have fared a little bit better. You hate to bring it up because it's totally hypothetical.
Absolutely.
But maybe there's something to it. He looked out of his element, but like we said, he didn't get a whole lot of help either.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think that someone like Drew Brees would have put up a better fight. They would have figured out something. Like you say, he's a guy who's been around almost as long as Tom Brady. He's seen and done it all. Has won a Super Bowl himself. Has all that experience. You have to think, Drew Brees would have figured something out. Like you say, Jared Goff did not get any help whatsoever. He really didn't even have a target that was consistently, at least Tom Brady had Julian Edelman. Anytime he looked at him, Edelman was open. And Tony Romo was pointing it out all game long. He was saying, just keep throwing it to Edelman. Nobody can cover him. He makes one move, and the guy, the guy covering him is 5 yards off of him. He had Edelman all game to go to. Still, the Patriots offense really didn't get it going until late in the 3rd quarter. So basically once that drive occurred where Brady was just like, okay, I'm just going to throw it to Gronk.
Right.
All the way down the field.
Yeah.
Gronk made that incredible catch 1 yard out, which of course led to the plunge, which was the one touchdown of the game. And that was basically the only thing that happened, except for the new NFL record for longest punt in a Super Bowl game.
65 yards, yeah. And he would have got a lot of practice last night. How many punts did they have?
Oh, man, his leg was probably, warmed up, just ready to go.
Yeah.
That had to be the funniest moment to me, because even the announcers were just having a field day with it. The punt was slowly rolling, a couple more yards after it landed, and I can't remember who the play-by-play announcer I was watching on the feed I was watching was. He's just like, oh, is it? Well, we have a new record. The longest punt in Super Bowl history. That's the most exciting thing that's happened.
It really was up to that point. It's interesting you mentioned Tony Romo, though, who, again, was delivered a really poor game to work with, but made it pretty interesting. And you mentioned typical Bill Belichick earlier, and the head coach of the Rams admitted he was simply outcoached. Bill Belichick did.
I mean, no shame in losing to Bill Belichick.
Not at all. That's the sixth that Brady and Belichick have won together. There is no shame in that. But admitted straight up they were outcoached, and they were. Tony Romo, again, I came across some article last night. I think he was 6 for 7 in the Tony predictions again. And it got to a point where their offense was getting very predictable, and he would almost call where it was going. And I think the sequence I'm thinking about in the third, where it sort of looked like they were clicking, they made a couple first downs, they were getting receptions, things were sort of opening up for the Rams a little bit. And it was because Tony was saying, okay, you know what? They're going to go to this. They should mix it up. Throw in something different. The Patriots at this point are expecting this sequence because you ran it the whole first half. Switch it up a little bit. But you're right. The decisive run at the end, which would have been around midway through the fourth quarter, you had Sony Michel, who had another very respectable running game. I think he ran for 94 yards on 10-plus carries. Gronk, basically, you throw it up.
He made the
He's
difference.
Gonna if it's a one-on-one coverage, he's bigger than anyone. But also on some of the rushing plays, too, with his size, he's just able to open up so much room. And there was a couple rushes that Michel did where he opened up the line for him, got a spot. And then there were a couple times that he would run down the field without even looking, and Brady's already thrown it. He turns around, and it's right in his hands. And Edelman, what can you say? MVP afterwards, 10 receptions, 140 yards. When they needed him most, all three were clicking, and that was the difference.
Yeah. So moving forward, Tom Brady has already announced he is not planning on retiring. 41 years old. Like we mentioned off the top of the show, 6 Super Bowl victories to his name. Nope. He's going to be back.
Yep.
Rob Gronkowski, on the other hand, he's 29 years old. He's a hard 29.
Yeah.
That's a lot of years of hard football that have been put on that body. Still looked fantastic last night, again, in the most important game of the season. So he can still play, but when you've gone through that much punishment in your career, and it doesn't even matter how big a guy you are, because Rob Gronkowski is arguably the biggest guy on the field at any given point. But when you're putting your body on the line like he has for many years now, it catches up with you very quick. And the game in a game like pro football, where the life expectancy, that sounds harsh, but the career expectancy of a player is, I think, like 5 years, 3 to 5 years. Rob Gronkowski going at 29. Pretty impressive career, and still a very young man. But he's apparently going to take a couple weeks to think about it.
There have been rumblings of this all season long, even heading into this season after they lost in the Super Bowl last year. His future was sort of up in the air, like you said, at that tight end position. And he's also been pretty vocal about how damaging football can be to one's body. But especially at that tight end position, he's a big guy, 6'6", 6'7", probably 260-plus pounds.
Right.
He's getting hit by big guys. He's hitting big guys hard.
And he parties a lot in the offseason.
Yeah, right. It takes a toll on your body. If this is the end of him, what a way to go out, first of all.
Absolutely.
He orchestrated. Michel ends up punching in that 2-yard rush, but it was him with the longest reception of the game for either team, the 29-yard catch that got them to the 2-yard line that effectively sealed the game. Unquestionably will go down as one of the best tight ends ever, 3-time champ. big plays when your team needs them most. So you hope it's not the last dance for him. You'd love to see him back. If you're rooting for anyone but the Patriots, maybe not. He can be pretty dominant.
Yeah. I have no idea if Rob Gronkowski or NFL players in general pay any attention to the NHL, but I would think, Rob Gronkowski, with his reputation being what it is of truly making the best of any celebratory situation, the guy likes to party.
Yeah.
I wonder if he took a look at Alex Ovechkin's Stanley Cup celebrations this past offseason. I wonder if he's like, there's been a new bar set.
Yeah. Brady and Edelman were at Disney World today.
Hey,
they said afterwards they would go to Disney World. Footage emerged of them on a roller coaster at Disney World today. So, but no, Ovechkin's celebration was nothing short of legendary.
If anyone is up to the challenge, it's Gronk.
Yeah.
All right. When we come back, Billy O and Damon Crossman in the house talking a little Canada Winter Games preview next on Cabin Sports Radio.
The Cabin Sports Radio podcast, brought to you by Sport North, moving sport forward.
Back on Cabin Sports Radio, joined in studio now by the chef de mission. Is that pronounced properly?
That's correct.
That's all right?
Yeah. God.
Bill Othmer of Sport North making his debut appearance on Cabin Sports Radio. How you doing, Bill?
Great. Happy to be here.
Joined as well by the longtime mission staff member, Damon Crossman, elder statesman. How you doing, Damon?
Very good. Yourself?
Not too bad. We had you on. You were actually the first guest on Cabin Sports Radio.
Yeah.
We discovered you were entering your 20th mission staff season.
I don't know mission staff, but going to games, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in various capacities.
You've been there for 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 20 different sets of games, yes.
Okay.
Wily vet. He's a wily vet.
Well, welcome.
He's also our assistant chef.
Oh, assistant? I was not aware. My mistake. My apologies,
no
Dan.
worries.
That's my bad.
The chef and the assistant chef in the house here on Cabin Sports Radio
Lots
for
of
Team
eggs.
NT. As we head into the Canada Winter Games, not long now, less than 2 weeks until everyone heads there. Damon, you're heading there February 11th.
Yeah.
Bill, you follow the next day, February 12th.
Yeah, we don't travel together. We're like the king and queen.
Too important to have on the same flight. Yes.
Absolutely.
Of course. And the athletes there head there themselves February 14th, shortly thereafter. And then the opening ceremonies, February 15th. Then you're off and running.
Yeah.
How stressed are you? How has it been leading up to these games? And how's everything going so far for Team NT?
Well, Scott, they say you're only as good as the people around you, as the Prime Minister should know. And we have a fantastic bunch of volunteers that are our mission staff. So Damon and I, we're relying on them to help perform their due diligence down at the games. They've been having lots of meetings and dealing with their teams. So when you ask if we're stressed, no, we're not stressed at all. We just push that stress onto our mission staff.
Oh, there you go. And you got a pretty good team. What 16 mission staff members, yourselves included?
Yeah, and some of them are core staff where we put a little more responsibility. That's the word I'm looking for on them. But and they're doing a fabulous job. Rita Mercady, Kendra, and Joey. Very capable people, and like Bill said, we aren't feeling stressed because we have those people to rely on.
You just dump it on them.
I don't know if you want to say dump it on them, but
Call delegate.
Yeah,
Delegate. There you go. That's better.
Yeah, and then like Bill said, we got a bunch of really good volunteer mission staff that are helping out as well. So it's
Okay.
really cool.
So opening ceremonies again, February 15th, and then you're off and running at the games in Red Deer. For those who don't know, who have never been a part of a multi-sport game, the Canada Winter Games specifically even, Bill, take us through kind of a day in the life of a mission staff member.
Yeah, they're pretty full, especially when we're dealing with the community. It's about communication, and it's about common sense. The first couple of days that we do get down to Red Deer, all the information that we've received from the host has all been written down, and it looks real great and everything like that. But when the rubber hits the road, there are some times that something's going to slap you in the side of the head.
Of course.
So you have to be ready for that. And that's where people like Damon, who has a great experience, and Kendra and Rita come in, and we make sure that we're ready to go. But with respect to a full day, what happens is we will meet with the host society in terms of areas such as sport. Obviously, that's why we're there.
Okay.
Meals, accommodations, security, all the main logistics that there are committees for with the host. And so we will get that information every morning at 7 in the morning, and then we will meet with our mission staff at 8:30.
Okay.
Usually it's a little bit later in the first couple of days because they are trying to sort out the kinks.
Yeah.
And then we'll relay that information to our teams, to our mission teams. They will in turn go and have a coffee or just sit down, meet with the coaches, and check in and see how they're doing initially, and also to relay the information that we're getting from the host.
Okay.
In the first couple days, it does take the host society a couple, like 2-3 days to sort out things like transportation and meals. But that's what we always say. It's good if you're going second week, folks, because second week the host usually has everything sorted out.
All the kinks are worked out. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where you can feel as organized as possible on paper, but until the live bullets start flying,
that's right,
you never know exactly what's going to happen.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's a lot of organization, a lot of like you say, communication involved.
Yeah, and then from there, Damon and I'll go have a nap. No, I'm just kidding. Then we'll get out and we'll make sure that we're very visual. We go talk to the coaches ourselves. We do split up. We don't want to be around each other all together all the time. Right. Obviously, we will check in with each other. We also have a mission office that's opened up that we'll be able to get messages from the communities in, and the coaches can come there and photocopy or just get away from their athletes for a little bit and have some adult conversation. And that runs right till 12 o'clock at night. So they are full days, and then it's the next day, same thing.
Right.
Yeah, Groundhog Day, really.
Yeah.
It is.
Good way to put it.
But yeah, no, like Bill said, it's you're there to help be there for the athletes and the coaches, and you be there as much as you can to support them. And you can't be at every single event every single day, so you kind of check the schedule and okay, I can get this event today, but I got to make sure I get to that one. And
right.
You want to be sure you're supporting everybody and not just one particular sport, because then
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
It's not fair to everyone.
And a lot of the parents, they can't make the games. We hope that a lot do come to Red Deer because it is so nice and close. You could drive down. So, we want to give them a peace of mind that the care and comfort of the athletes are our responsibility as well. And, we're not there to tell the coach Johnny should be on the power play or Jill should be starting center or something like that. We're there for the overall management of the overall team.
Right. There's enough politics already.
There's
no politics in sports.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yikes.
Now I know it might not seem like it because you can hear the energy levels in these two gentlemen speaking. That it might surprise some people to know that you are far removed from your athlete days at a multi-sports game competition like the Canada Winter Games. But if you could. Take us through similar to that, kind of a day in the life of an athlete. What does their general day look like at these games?
Well, it would all depend on if they're competing that day or not and at what time. So the coach will obviously, all the athletes and coaches that have seen their schedule well in advance, so the coaches can plan their day leading up to the game. So if say the competition's at noon, they get up at 8 o'clock, go have a good breakfast, and then whether they do warm up like a pre-skate or sighting in their rifles for like biathlon and that, just get ready for it, and then they compete. And then after that, it's whether they've got media interviews, there's injuries always, so some often go to the polyclinic to get massages or taped up or whatever the case may be, and then it's go recover and get ready for the next day. And again, if there's not a whole lot going on in the evening for that, and they're done, go support the other Team NT.
Absolutely.
Sports and So and then again, just stop, rewind, press play, and do it all over again.
That's right, Damon. And we all, because we have such a small team, it's nice, and we do support the teams to go out and go support the when they're not competing, support the teams.
And Team NT has a pretty traditionally great crowd presence at these games.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do. And getting back to the day of the athlete, one message that we like to give to parents, and I know it's tough, and you never tell anybody how to parent their child, but when the athlete's down there, they're part of the team, and the coach has a daily plan, and there will be times that are already planned to go and say hi to the parents, and usually it's on a Wednesday night or whenever, depending as Damon said on the schedule. And what we want to do is support our teams and our coaches in making sure that the athletes are prepared. And sometimes we do have situations where parents will be, coming to the coaches and saying, I want to pull a little, Jill out to take them for dinner. Well, if that's not on the plan, then the coach will let you know. So that's the message that I'd like to deliver.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay. So not long now, as you mentioned, it's right around the corner that you all head to Red Deer. Looking ahead, I know it's way, way ahead to look at this, but as far as the next Canada Games, the Westerns is coming up this summer, but as far as the Canada Games program, what's coming up next?
Next on agenda would be the 2021 Canada Summer Games.
Okay.
Being held in the Niagara region, so St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, that region of Ontario. Preparations already started. We've got meetings there probably within a year after, but probably 6 months after these games. We'll be there for starting M1, which the chef and assistant chef go and attend, and we start doing venue tours and stuff like that. So even though the games are 2 years away, it's already in the hopper, planning and all that kind of stuff.
Wasting no time.
That's right. And because if it's the Canada Games program and the family, we'll see a lot of the organizing committee for 2021 at these Canada Games.
Right.
And they'll walk around with people from the host. The security chair may be going with them and shadow them for a day or two, or someone who's with accommodations or cafeteria.
Yeah.
They're already planning this far out.
Yeah.
So
wow.
Yeah, lots of planning.
Yeah, no kidding. Whole lot of coordination. So we obviously know that Sport North will be there. Yourself, Bill, will be a presence there. Sport North, just in general, will have a presence with Team NT at the games. We can find Canada Winter Games updates on the Sport North website. Of course, Ollie from Cabin Radio will be down there as part of the mission staff, so we'll be receiving updates from him, and on Cabin Sports Radio, we'll be running some update segments with Ollie. Where else can people keep track of what's going on?
Obviously, News North will be, running articles to their outlet. TSN opening ceremonies will be televised live on there, and throughout the games, there's certain events that will be on TV. So that's another area, and then
just call in sick and
exactly. Right? Isn't that what everyone does at the Olympics?
There you go.
So
exactly. And there's also what they call Canada Games TV, and it's a streaming service that we'll supply you with the link. And if you can shout that out because there are a lot of shut-ins parents and grandparents and family members that want to get on. That means there won't be much productivity at work during the day, but
it's the price you pay, right? Okay. Well, that's very, very exciting. Obviously, you guys are pumped to be down there as part of Team NT. Again, Damon, you take off February 11th. Bill, February 12th. The chef and assistant chef dimension. All right.
Well, we just want to thank first of all, the coaches, if that's so.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I'd like to thank the coaches for volunteering their their time towards this. Their role models. There was some study that was just out. I was reading that the athletes aged between 16 and 14 and 18. The role models in their life, first one is teacher, second one is coach, then it's the parents. So we just want to thank the coaches for all that they're doing. And we also want to thank the parents for not only just financially supporting their athletes, but also to support them by getting them to the rink and getting them ready to go as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well said. All right, Bill, Damon, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
And good luck
Go
to you.
Team NT.
The CSR Podcast.
Cabin Sports Radio brought to you by Sport North, moving sport forward. So last week on the show, we were talking about some rumors coming out of the NBA. Anthony Davis out of New Orleans had declared that he wanted to be traded.
Yeah, told the organization up front he would not re-sign his current contract up at the end of next season. He has no intention of re-signing with that organization. Listed the Lakers specifically, as do most free agents, as a destination he would like to go to. So it's another example of a star player, a superstar player in this case, trying to strong arm management. It really is a superstar league in the sense that players will oftentimes try to call the shots, will try to orchestrate their own way out of town to a preferred market. So he's trying to do that right now with the Los Angeles Lakers. At the time, Dell Demps, the general manager of the New Orleans Pelicans, wasn't even answering phone calls from Magic Johnson and the Lakers.
How do you not answer Magic?
Right?
Come on.
It's Magic Johnson, one of the greatest point guards of all time. But they didn't want to engage in that at all. That has since changed.
Okay.
They're having conversations. I think it's around 2 trade offers that the Lakers have presented to the Pelicans so far. The first, quote unquote, a low ball. I believe it was a bunch of veteran players, probably on expiring deals. What the Lakers are trying to do now that they signed LeBron in the offseason, is they got a lot of veteran type players, Lance Stevenson, Rajon Rondo, JaVale McGee, on short-term deals, so that they could free up some cash for the upcoming season, the upcoming off-season, when free agency hits July 1st. So that's now reportedly some of the faces that they're trying to include with these younger packages, who teams would prefer in the Lonzo Balls, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Zubac. So apparently, as of today, the latest report, 3 of those names, including some veterans, have been offered to the Pelicans in exchange for Anthony Davis. Knicks, Clippers, and Bucks have also reportedly emerged as favorite landing spots for Anthony Davis in the event that a trade is not orchestrated with the Lakers, and those are teams that he apparently is open to re-signing with. And that's the risk. If you're a team trying to get in on the sweepstakes for him, he has said outright he will not sign long-term extensions with anyone initially other than the Lakers. It seems like that list has since expanded to include 4 teams. But the most notable exception at this point has been the Celtics.
And why is that?
Well, it's due to a contractual rule.
Okay.
So they have Kyrie Irving on their roster, who is under the Rose Rule exception. It turns out you cannot have more than 2 people. Sorry, more than 1 person on your roster
Who's a flat earther?
Yeah, he's one of those too. Yeah, you can't have 2 flat earthers.
It's a good rule.
Yeah, you can, just for common sense sake. You cannot have 2 people on your roster with that rule. It turns out that Anthony Davis has that same exception.
Okay.
So the only way before free agency period opens up that the Celtics could acquire Davis is if they send Kyrie the other way, which seems kind of counterproductive.
Right.
That wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So that's what's preventing that. So that's why, and apparently Anthony Davis's father, not a fan of the Celtics.
Well.
And that's because they are a disloyal franchise for how they treated Isaiah Thomas a couple years ago, if you recall. MVP caliber season, brought the Celtics to the playoffs. In the same year, his sister passed away in a car accident. Really tragic, right around playoff time. And he was someone they could rally around, the little guy that could, 5'9",
Right.
put together an MVP season. They ship him in the offseason, stab him in the back, send him to Cleveland.
All right.
For Kyrie Irving.
That's a little more. I thought maybe it was going to be something about Larry Bird. That's okay. That's pretty recent history.
Yeah, it's fresh. It's pretty fresh. So that's why, reportedly, they're not on the list of interested teams. So the trade deadline is on Thursday at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. So we will see. There are some that believe that if the Pelicans are patient and wait it out to this summer, they could sign Kyrie to a new deal, perhaps. The Celtics could, that is. And then the Celtics can put some players in position to send the other way and make their offer more attractive than the Lakers, who are prepared to trade the farm at this point to acquire Anthony Davis and pair him with LeBron James.
Now, obviously, it sounds sad to say, but NBA and Toronto Raptors fans are probably well aware that the Raptors are not on that list, the Anthony Davis sweepstakes. What is the word coming out of the Raptors camp?
Well, that idea was thrown around. As soon as you have a top 5 player declare they have no interest in remaining with their current team and are seeking a trade, there are those people out there, and there are many sport pundits and writers and experts who are saying, you're pretty much, you traded away the face of the franchise in DeMar DeRozan to acquire someone like Kawhi, who will very likely be a rental. He'll probably walk in free agency and go to the Clippers, are probably the front runners to sign him at this point. They sent Steve Ballmer to the Raptors game the other day, their owner. Kawhi didn't notice, but he was there. He was
busy.
He was courtside. So, some people are saying, hey, you're already all in. Acquire another superstar in Anthony Davis and make a real run at this
serious
thing.
about it, yeah.
Make a real run. You would easily be the favorite in the East, and you would cause someone even like the Warriors some real problems.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis is a matchup nightmare, and then you've got probably the best two-way player in the game in Kawhi Leonard. So there are certainly some people that say it's worth taking that shot, but you would almost certainly have to part with Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, DeLon Wright, so key pieces that you figure would be a part of the Raptors' future. So I don't know if Masai Ujiri has considered it. It's interesting. It's food for thought. Whether or not they actually do anything is another story.
Yeah.
Someone they are reportedly targeting is Wes Matthews, but that would have to be in the buyout market. If the Knicks were to buy him out, he's a sharp shooting 3-pointer. So lots of contenders, even the Warriors, because they need to get better too, apparently.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that, like you mentioned, they in the offseason, they made the huge trade, DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard, with, like you say, the thought being largely that Kawhi, there's a good chance that he won't stick around. He might stick around, who knows, but odds were when that trade was made, the thought was, hey, let's take a shot, because this is a legit superstar that can potentially get us there. Let's take a shot and then see where we sit after that. If you're going to trade away a guy like DeMar DeRozan for one piece that you think is maybe going to be a rental, but possibly going to get you there, why not? Yeah. Why not just sell the house if you think this is your window of opportunity?
Yeah.
Why not really go for it?
And the biggest hurdle for as long as the Raptors have been perennial postseason players has been LeBron James, and he's in the Western Conference now. So that was the biggest hurdle for so many years. That is no longer there. The East is fairly wide open. Boston's going to be there. Milwaukee's going to be there. The Raptors should be there. So why not? I don't think it will happen. I could actually see the Pelicans holding it out. If they do bite before the trade deadline, it'll be because the Lakers offer them something they just can't turn down. And it could be as many as 6 rotation players, apparently. That's what it could take.
Okay. This Thursday, as Mike said, NBA trade deadline. We will see what happens. Coming up on Cabin Sports Radio, we are going to talk some NHL. The NHL trade deadline is not far away. There's some rumors and some things going around there. And we're also going to talk about our favorite former GM, now turned analyst, and all-time curmudgeon, Brian Burke.
You're listening to Cabin Sports Radio. Miss part of the show? Download the podcast at cabinradio.ca or on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Spotify.
Captain Sports Radio brought to you by Sport North. One more segment to go. Taking a look around the NHL. The NHL trade deadline, February 26th. So it is not far away. Not as close as the NBA trade deadline, but it is looming. And, of course, this around this time, last week, the Leafs made the first big move in trade season leading up to the playoffs, sending a couple pieces and a first-round draft pick over to the LA Kings for Jake Muzzin. Which is looking pretty good for them so far. He's played a couple games. He looked good against Pittsburgh on Saturday night. He's looked really good so far tonight. The Leafs in action against the Anaheim Ducks right now at the Air Canada Center. And Jake Muzzin looking really good so far. So pretty excited Leafs fans are with that pick. Interesting that not really much has unfolded since then. There was kind of a bit of chatter as to, is this going to create a domino effect? Are we going to see teams get a bit more aggressive now that someone has made the first move? Or is it going to kind of be crickets until February 26th?
Yeah, and I feel like more than other leagues, specifically the NBA, they'll have entire shows dedicated to TSN, trade deadline day, right? And they will fill a whole day worth of content based on the trades that come in. So it can be a very last-minute type of environment, more so than the NBA. You will see stuff pick up, but I expect we'll probably see a lot of action on the day itself. Just getting a feel for who the buyers are, who the sellers are, that might have changed in recent weeks. Some teams we owe apologies to that we figured would definitely not be in the mix.
Yep.
And they're fighting for playoff spots. So
they shall remain nameless, of course. But
teams jockeying for position. So we'll see. And that's a decision that management will always have to make. Like, do we have a shot? All right. Let's pick up another piece.
Yeah.
Do we not? All right. Let's sell off.
The biggest name kind of hanging around right now is, I think, Artemi Panarin out of Columbus. They're still not really sure if his status is that Columbus is going to push hard or are they going to sell him.
Yeah.
He is obviously a huge offensive piece that any team could benefit from. Specifically, I'm looking at the Winnipeg Jets. I'm thinking they know they got to make a play for a piece. That's been pretty much the thought all season long. It's like, this team is good enough to get you into the postseason, but they need to add one more piece to put them over the top. Last year, of course, they brought in Paul Stastny from the St. Louis Blues, and he was great as their second-line center between Nick Ehlers and Patrick Laine. Of course, helped them to a Western Conference final, losing to the Vegas Golden Knights. This year, they are in the exact same position, flourishing in the Central Division, looking around thinking, what is that last piece we could add? And I'm thinking, why does it have to be a center? Brian Little has established himself. He used to be the top-line center on this team until Mark Scheifele was drafted and emerged. He has fit into a second-line center role. He's done really well there. He slid into kind of a third-line center role when Paul Stastny was brought in, and I don't know if it was really ideal for him. He's a very versatile center, but he's not a guy that's going to provide offense on his own. He needs to be surrounded by some pieces. You've got Jack Roslovic, who has emerged as a legit third-line center for the Jets, and of course Adam Lowry, who is the big sandpaper guy that you can have on the third or fourth line. Really, he fits in both places there. So I'm thinking, if you can add Artemi Panarin to the Jets as they are now, you put him on the wing with Brian Little and Patrick Laine on the other side. Who would be better to perhaps get Laine going again than Artemi Panarin?
Yeah. You were talking about how snakebit he was. The Jets beating the Ducks 9-3 the other night.
Yes.
And he doesn't get on the score sheet. If there was a game to get
he got an assist.
If there was a game to get out of that funk, that was it. But the GM has said he is willing to dangle that first-round pick of theirs. And like you said, this is the time for the Jets to make that move. They've got some key RFAs. Everyone's talking about the Leafs and Matthews and Marner and Kapanen. They've got Laine, Connor, Myers, Trouba, these core integral parts of this Jets roster all up.
Primed for another run.
Yep. So now is the time to do it. If you can dangle that first-round pick and get someone that pushes you over the top. You mentioned how well Stastny fit into the roster last year, and they could run away with this Central. They're already 4 points up on Nashville, a couple games at hand. They're heads above everyone else in that division. And really, it's just Calgary in San Jose in the Pacific.
Yeah.
They could submit themselves as the strongest team in the West, and they look pretty good to come out of that conference. So make that one other move if you can.
Lastly, just finishing up, Brian Burke had some comments about the Carolina Hurricanes post-game celebrations, which have gone from clapping and skating and running up against the glass.
Yeah.
You were talking, they've had a couple other really
they mixed
goofy...
in some rowing, so it looks like they're kayaking on the ice. They all lined up one time against one net, and one of their players came in, pretended to be a bowling ball, crash into the net. They're having fun with it. They're one of the third youngest teams in the league, right? Not expectations that are sky high, right? They're just having a little fun.
Yep. Young team, not in a hockey market.
Right.
This is, I mean, you would have to think that post-game celebrations aren't going to be what suddenly makes hockey happen in Carolina. But, you know, when you got a young team and you're drawing flies as far as attendance goes, what can you do but make the game atmosphere a bit more fun? Brian Burke thinks it's pee-wee garbage, though. So, to end off the show, we have put together a little montage of the best of Brian Burke being grumpy. We will have you back listening to Cabin Sports Radio next Monday. We will talk to you then and leave you with the best of grumpy Brian Burke.
We never start these fights. Like a general manager never wakes up and says, hey, who can I fight with today in the media? We pick up the newspaper and read some garbage story that should be at the bottom of a bird cage or wrapping a fish or on a puppy's, the corner of a kitchen for a puppy to use. And it's something about our hockey team that's untrue or unfair. And now we fly off the handle and react.
It's not a hockey team, it's a cult. They've got total buy-in on their system. Sedin is not English for punch me or headlock me in a scrum.
They're going to be fine. I'm sick of answering questions about them. I'm sick of the media picking on them.
There's no way Alex All was going to be on this team this year unless he flew to France during the summer and bathed in the holy waters at Lourdes.
If Trent can get 3 years at over $1 million from someone else, God bless him, I'll drive him to the airport. This is the last day I'm going to talk about Pavel, so any questions, ask him now. Next time I'm going to mention his name is when I tell you guys where he's going. I only know one way, which is to fight back. I'm Irish. But B, it's the right thing anyway. People should know that what they read and hear about our team is accurate and fair. And when it's not, they're going to hear about it from me.